Happy you're all here. Last session. Wow. So we're going to do something a little different today, which is to build something up from scratch, which is for sure a different workflow, a different kind of mental process than taking something and importing it into something else. But this is something that will really test our fundamentals, which I encourage you to do. This can be a good exercise, sometimes very tedious, but maybe you forego the Sudoku one day and decide to code up a sequencer in Gen instead, right? These kinds of things can be really good for getting facilities, right? And just to say, like, ahead of time, if you ever have any questions about Gen stuff, you can always drop it in the Discord that I shared. I'd be very interested in knowing what you're working on and helping to troubleshoot. That'd be cool. That'd be super fun. So we're going to get into this granular thing. I want to maybe take one moment here to start so I don't forget, because I think we're going to get sucked into this, which is great, to look at the materials around the daisy that I had shared, so hardware. So I didn't get a chance to bring a device today because I'm on a real highway to hell vibe, like cigarettes and Red Bull. But I'm very happy to show some stuff, which is if you go here to search or resources, search, you can sort of find this thing called Oopsie. And Oopsie here is really a code base. So this is a library for, it's a kind of a package for MaxMSP. And here you'll find quite a lot of links that I've found helpful as I've learned this, as I've learned how to take Gen and put it onto a device like this, right? So this is actually something you can spend quite a lot of money on, but has quite a lot of cool functions. So I'll just I don't want to sort of advertise necessarily for Electrosmith, but here we are. But you can go, this is sort of a support site. You can get these very small sort of Arduino type devices that run on 3.3 volt. And these are inexpensive. And if you're doing like a standalone project, say you're doing something for like a guitar pedal and you really want to build that out from scratch, this is a good option. Say you're doing a sound installation and you want to put something out in the world that like maybe reads in air quality data and then hooks up to an amp and makes some sound from that. Like, this is a great candidate for that. You can power this with like a battery bank, like a cell phone charger kind of battery bank, which are very inexpensive, $15. And then this thing is portable, which is really quite amazing. Hey, welcome.
Hello.
So this is about $20. It's all like, if people are familiar with Arduino and that kind of microcontroller zone, you can kind of plug in any sensor you want here, like the world is your oyster. I mean, a blood pressure, or not blood pressure, but a heart rate sensor, maybe a blood pressure sensor. I don't know. I haven't tried that. Respiratory sensor, like a sort of breath sensor, flex sensor, a button, a potentiometer, anything can kind of be patched into here. And this one is very, very, really quite flexible. And then there is this thing called I'm looking for this. This is the one that I've been using most recently. And so for Euro rack heads, this runs on plus minus 12 volt and puts out control voltage that's between 0 and 5 volts. So it's mostly friendly with a lot of Euro rack stuff. What's incredible about this, actually, both of these chips, is that you can have up to 10-minute long buffers, which is just like unheard of on a device this small and this inexpensive. This is $20, $25. It's pretty wild. So, you can also, by the way, you can just buy stuff from them like this. It's very expensive. I think this is like $500 or something, standard kind of Euro rack thing. But There are cheaper ones as well. Is this one? I don't know. They have this thing. I don't know if this is even for sale. Anyway, I'm not going to do any more advertising for these guys. We don't need to get into that. But I want to show you like a little bit about Oopsie. So Oopsie is the package for going from Gen to Daisy. And you can download it over here. You can have it sort of release. There's actually there are video tutorials online for this that you can find. And as well, like, also if you have questions about this, you can always drop them in this Discord. And actually, CChem is working to kind of, as we're kind of getting along, to maybe make some more support materials for this as well, that are specific to some of the synths that we've been building. But what it looks like once it's all downloaded is kind of interesting. So you can actually go and you can make something new from template. And these sort of populate here inside of Max. And I just showed you this, the patch, right? That like big $500 one. You can click this and here it will come up. And here it is kind of ready to go, actually. So, what do we see here? We're sort of simulating input audio. So that device, actually, let me pull it up. Daisy patch. Yeah, so you can kind of see here that some of these controls kind of map over. This is pretty hard to see, but there are 4 potentiometers, which we see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's also a lot of other inputs that we don't see mirrored in this patch, which might be a little bit confusing. But we do see 4 audio inputs. Those are sort of mirrored here. And there are 4 audio outputs. So this is like their flagship thing that they build. CChem has one that's like, I don't know how much it costs yet, but it's like much more down and dirty. It doesn't have a fancy screen. It doesn't have 4 audio inputs and outputs. It has 2, but it has 8 potentiometers. Graphic design's cooler as well. But if we open this up, we'll kind of see like bare bones what this looks like. So here you have your audio ins, and you actually just write these in as in 1, in 2, in 3, in 4. Out 1, out 2, out 3, out 4. So those are these right here. And then you have also these controls. CTRL. Control 1, Control 2, Control 3, Control 4. And as far as I understand, you kind of see that like in this graphic design here, these are kind of connected. These dials function essentially as offsets for these patches. So if you had like an LFO signal coming in, like a low sine wave, you could offset that by turning the dial, or you could just use this as a control. And whatever is the case, these whatever voltage is coming in here, whether through the potentiometer or through this input, would be passed through as a signal here, and it would be automatically mapped to 0 to 1. Unless you go and say here, I want to make this -10 to max 10. You can sort of scale that however you like. And then here also CV outs, right? So CV out 1, CV out 2. We see we have 2 CV outs here. And then gate in 1, gate in 2, gate out 1. And they only have 1 gate out on here, which is kind of funny. It's interesting. Yeah, and then there's MIDI. Like, honestly, I've not really messed with MIDI on Daisy. That just seems like I just haven't done that. It probably works. I don't know. I suspect it does if they're selling this like for a lot of money. But yeah, I haven't messed with Daisy. That does seem to be supported though. So anyway, I found these templates immensely helpful, because now what I could do is we could drop in something like, in fact, they do have examples. So I could go here to Well, I thought it was called oopsie examples. Maybe they're hidden in the package. Hold on. Oopsie. And yeah, okay, here they are, examples. So, for instance, simple, that seems like a good place to start. Ooh, too simple. I think that it's really simple. I think I might have edited this. This is bad practice. I saved an example file. Oops. Let's look at reverb.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, great. So this is pretty straightforward, right? We have audio in, and it looks like they're naming these. So that's kind of another, there is another layer here, right? So like, you can name these parameters and then map them to different pins. So this is where things get a little complicated, and it's going to get a little bit outside of scope for today. Here, like all of these params are kind of named, but if you're using like one of these little boards here just by itself, there's a way that you can like write a JSON file which maps different pins to different parameter names. I'm just going to gloss that. You know, there's
Okay, that's the link there. You have the JSON file.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to gloss that. There's a lot of tutorials about that. In fact, one of them we have on the CCAM site somewhere. Where did that other thing
Saturday,
go?
right?
We'll do a thing. We'll show some stuff on Saturday. Yeah, we're not going to get into the nuts and bolts of anything. But yeah, quick update on setting up a custom JSON file for oopsie, right? So this is a nice tutorial for this, for example. Okay, so then what do you do to get it on there? You basically press a couple buttons on the daisy to put it in like a mode that will receive this code. You're plugged it in here with a USB cable, and then you hit send or fire on this thing here. And then what it does is it takes all the code in this gen box. It goes to the JSON file, it maps this to that. And then it compiles this as C++ code, and it will flash it. And here it'll say Daisy not ready on USB because I don't have one plugged in. But if all things go well, then you're rocking, and now you have Gen on your hardware. Sounds pretty straightforward. It certainly can be. It's definitely its own workflow. It takes a little bit of getting used to. There's still some funny things about oopsie, little tricky things and it looks like they're actually, it's actually a little bit better developed. They just recently launched this site here, which is exciting to see. So yeah, I think that they're really trying to build out their documentation, which is exciting.
There's a fair amount of commercial Eurorack manufacturers now that are using that.
Yes, I was just thinking that. It's made by I don't know if this is like I think this is a different company, but maybe a sister company to Qubit, Qubit. Yeah. And they make pretty expensive, it's expensive stuff. They're not plugging in exactly like this thing right here, but the hardware infrastructure is the same or similar. So yeah, this is like commercial grade Eurorack stuff. There was actually, what was it called? Like it's this Italian company, Sibilia. I don't think that's what it's called. Oh, it's called Sibilia. Yeah, okay, close enough. This here, I kind of like, what is this? Level 1?
Every time you pop inside, you got all these come-ons.
I don't know if I have enough XP for level 3, So here's this thing. It's a pretty sleek, look at this panel. Wow, they spent a lot of time on that. Like a really cool sort of nice tactile buttons and the design for this. They spent a long time on this for sure. Pretty big price tag here. This is like $400. But what's running on the back of that? That's a daisy patch. Yeah. That's a $25 piece of hardware. So, which is not to say that like this isn't worth that. Obviously a lot of time went into this, a lot of programming, a lot of like calibrating, a lot of testing, so many hours of development. If you like this thing, you should buy it. You should support these people. But it's totally worth mentioning too that like, hey, this is the same thing you can buy for $25, and you can also program with Gen, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you could have buffer sizes up to 10 minutes on just like the base Daisy microprocessor.
Yeah.
Would you be able to upload like audio files for like sample manipulation through that or nah?
Great question. So yes and no. And it is no as de facto, like without something else going on. But what's it called? Daisy patch? Yeah. You can. What is this? I don't want Amazon. Get out of here. Oh my God.
Everywhere.
It's Amazon Zero Rack. Take me here. However, you can see here that you can slot an SD card into this device.
Oh, okay.
And an SD card will allow you to preload samples. And so then you can plug that in and actually, so like you can make your drum machine this way, right? Now, I also haven't messed with an SD card, but I'll tell you what, if you check out, like say you want to do like a Eurorack thing and you like are really stoked on having sample playback, you can go to, well, now they link here. That's interesting. I go to hardware, I'm going to go to this, patch SM, and then I don't want the tech specs. Maybe it's assets. Yeah, I want the data sheet. And I can open the data sheet and it's going to tell you all the information about like what these pins are, different things you can plug in. This might take a while to decipher for people who are uninitiated. Power tolerances, performance even too, if you're really into that. But typical applications. So once you open up your like PCB design software or whatever, say you want to plug a potentiometer in there, it gives you the example schematic, right? So then you need 5-volt out. It's going to give power to the potentiometer, grounded the other way, and then it can go into pin C5, for example, and it will tell you can use these pins or these pins. In the case of there's an example for an SD card, micro SD card application, and so I haven't had time to do it, but it would be a matter of kind of plugging and playing actually, and then soldering this up.
Isn't that already on the board?
It's not on.
It's not on the big one?
It's on the big fancy $500 one.
No. I mean.
This one?
Oh, that. So if you buy that, that's a Euro compatible. There's no SD card on there?
There's no SD card on here.
But there is on the little one. There is on the seat.
There's not on the seat either. There's just memory.
Are you sure?
So there's the little one. These are just like memory, and here's the sort of main chip, and then I think this is the DAC or something like that. But you totally could actually hook up an SD card to this as well. And you can do this on a breadboard too. You don't have to make a PCB, but that would be cool too. Yes?
Is there an advantage of the seed over the other one?
The patch. Yeah, getting plus and minus 12-volt power is like usually a little more expensive, like in terms of like buying the power supply.
Okay.
And usually they're like kind of, well, not necessarily. It's a little more of a thing, like to kind of get that. But because this runs on 3.3 volt, you can actually, with like no extra work, you just plug power right into the USB here with like a battery pack.
Okay.
Or you plug it into your computer, or you plug it into the wall with like a cell phone charger or something, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, but the important thing to know, and this is what kind of dovetails into your question, is on this particular board, I think the pins are only 3.3 volt tolerant.
Correct.
So if you go above that, you could destroy the microprocessor.
Gotcha.
So you've
Absolutely.
got to have the appropriate circuitry to do level shifting and protection. That's
Mhm.
why that larger board that has the 4 connectors on it, that's Eurek compatible, is great because it does all the buffering and protection for you.
Totally.
So you've got an extra layer of stuff there that's well worth it if you want to do Eurek land. If you want to just do standalone
Yes.
stuff, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell you want. Just make sure, that's why you have to go to tech specs and look at the data sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Do not go past the voltage tolerance on each pin, or you will fry it.
You will fry it. Trust me. I can tell you from experience. I've fried a few. Yeah. So exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. You get a wild hair to like plug your Korg sequencer into this or something like that, and like, oops, I forgot that actually sends out 9-volt power or something, and oops, bye bye.
Oopsie.
Doink.
Yeah, it was $20 goof. I have kind of a pile of these that I've goofed. So. I hope to bring them back to life. They'll never come back
You
to
can
life.
make a necklace.
Yeah, that's actually what it's.
Little earrings.
I feel seen. Yeah. Okay. Any other hardware stuff? I mean, I sort of regret that we don't have more time to get into this, but yeah.
I just want to mention, I know CCAM's working on new stuff that's very inexpensive, and it's
Mhm.
even more expensive than what I'm going to mention right now, but Synthux Academy,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
who has all kinds of tutorials on how to deal with the DAISY stuff.
Yeah.
They have their own whole prototyping system, which is not necessarily inexpensive. And it's kind of general purpose. It's kind of this big rectangular board,
Mm-hmm.
but they have some really cool projects.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is a lot of them have serious documentation and the code along with it. And so like I'm
For
kind
sure.
of not to do an Audrey 2 myself,
Cool.
but the spotty couch should be pretty cool when they get that taken care of.
Yeah, the Dutch. I mean, the design's on point, of course. Like, looks really great. Yeah, I mean, this was an inspiration for us too, and I think the idea was kind of just roll our own Chicago style. But they have, yeah, I mean, some really great graphical design stuff. Actually, I've chatted with this guy a few times. He is a graphic designer. He teaches graphic design, but is also a synth head and sort of does this on the side.
Yeah, his website is killer.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of good stuff there.
So yeah, this is also very cool. I mean, you pay shipping from the UK or from the Netherlands for some of this stuff, but totally should absolutely hop into it. I don't think they have any Eurorec stuff yet. I think it is all built on this smaller DAISY, which
I think they're trying to keep it on their prototype board format,
got it.
except for that one thing you just pointed out with the
Oh,
kind of irregular right there. Yeah, touch.
so these aren't
Oh, this
Euro
one.
rack format. They're just like
No,
other
they're
thing.
big.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of-
They're standalone, yeah. Any other questions about hardware stuff? Cool. That's there for you. Again, it's kind of its own world. Well, I don't know. You should try it out if you're interested. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you have questions. I'd be really excited to hear. Let me say that. All right, cool. So here we are. We're going to do something very brave today, which is we're going to try and code something on the fly. And this is something I do all the time in my other classes, but not in Gen. So we're going to be in this together, and we're going to give each other a lot of grace, and I'm saying that for myself. Okay, so I thought we would start this way, which is to build a single grain playback first. And then we can start talking about how to have many at once, which is really the kind of goal of granular. Or maybe not goal, but like is often the poetics of granular synthesis. Ioannis Xenakis, the Greek composer and electronic musician, would talk about clouds of sound and really like base some of his algorithms on the way that gas would, on actually physics formulas about describing how gas particles would move through a space, right? Which, goes hard. But that also requires a kind of multiplicity, right? You're talking about a whole cloud of grains, not just one. So we want to get to polyphony, but we also want to understand the fundamentals too. And if we build a nice fundamental grain module, then we just need to think through how to line them up and choreograph the excitation of those grains, let's say, something like that. Cool. So we need to play back a sound. So I'm going to kind of throw it to y'all for this as we go. So we need to play back a sound. So what are the ingredients that we need to play back a sound to get started?
A buffer and an audio file.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So we can start in Max with a buffer, and we'll call this source. And let me see if I can remember. Yes. Okay. Great. So I can put this name in here. So this is a default something that comes in the Max package called is that you. So if I give this as the second argument here, is that you.aiff, I can click on here and see that this is populated with that, right? Okay, so we have a buffer, and then of course we need a gen object. So how do I go about playing back from this buffer inside of our gen system here? What ingredients do I need?
An input.
We need an input, and what is the input for?
Trigger the grain.
We could trigger, from the outside. That's right. So we want to sort of start, right? Start, and then maybe it will stop when it's done. That seems like a good thing to do, right?
Location in the buffer.
Location.
Yeah.
So maybe for now, let's start with building a simple sample playback, and then we'll go back and do some more finer grain, so to speak. Pardon the pun. So let's play back a file. This is a great first step. I want to send a trigger in. I want the file to play, and it plays till it's over, and that's it. What else do I need?
You also need an sfplay or an equivalent object to that in Max.
So something that's good, exactly. It's going to do the same thing that something like sfplay or groove or something like that does, but inside gen, right?
Well, you can make something like that inside gen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's get this party started.
You want a ramp to generate a phaser, and then use that to
Using a cube.
peek into the buffer.
Cool. Okay, great. So we need to peek. We need to read values from a data/buffer object.
Yep.
And the argument that we give it here, documentation not great on this, still kind of a bummer. But we put the name of the buffer here, peek source, like so. And let's make this bigger. So if we look in here, it says sample index to read. Sample index to read. So this is it. We have the correct inclination to use a phaser, because a phaser is going to go from 0 to 1. It's going to go from 0 to 1. However, peek expects a range in terms of sample size. So we have our phaser. Let's put it here like so. Yeah. But if we plug this in here, we're only going to go between sample 0 and sample 1, and there's going to be many more samples. than we have here. So what should we do in order to accommodate this?
So you need a counter that will actually read the length of the actual buffer.
So yes, this is great. So we need to think in terms of the length of the buffer. That's absolutely right. We could use a counter for sure. We could use a phaser as well. There would be advantages to both. I actually kind of like counter for what we're thinking about doing here. And I'll say why in a second. So we're going to swap this out, but essentially, like, what is this function here? This is something which increments. We need to increment so to scrub through the buffer.
You would find the length of the buffer and then multiply the phaser by that, right?
Totally, exactly. So we could totally do this. So what I'm thinking is that counter might be better because phaser is going to repeat automatically. It's going to go, 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 go. And what I'm thinking for our functionality is that we want the sample to play and then stop when it's done and then wait for us to send another trigger. So counter may be better for now, but phaser and there'd be a way to do this with phaser. Let's use counter.
What was your hotkey for typing text again?
C.
C.
C for comment. So we want to. So for counter, so we need two things for counter, right? We need to set the limit, and the limit is going to be, it's going to scrub through the buffer, and so that means a range of 0 to the size of the buffer. How do we get the size of the buffer?
From the output of the buffer.
Yes. So actually, when we do use a buffer in Max, we need also a sister buffer in Gen. So as we see here, buffer is a reference to an external buffer object. So buffer space, src. And I mean, I may be misspeaking. I do think you need this object. Maybe you don't, but I think you do.
You do.
I think you do. In any case, this gives us the length in samples out here. What does it give us here? Number of channels, right? For now, we're just going to do this in mono. So this is the count limit. So I can put this here. But I'm thinking ahead, and we may not want to do that. And we'll see why in a second. But let's actually, yeah.
Do you need like a samples to millisecond?
No, because this is going to take in the sample index, so that is going to be in terms of samples. But actually, this is good. I'm sort of we do actually kind of want a different way of doing this. Sorry, this is great. So let's actually let's just try this. I don't know that we need this right away. I'm going to go and say we want to add 1 to the counter every time because we want to increment by 1. I should say increment here by 1. So to scrub through the buffer. So 1 comes in here. And then what trigger is actually going to do is trigger is going to reset the count. So let's just see. We already have a very simple playback system.
With that, the way it stands, what happens when you overflow the buffer?
Great question. Let's see.
What's peak going to do? It's going to puke.
Let's see. So we'll send in a click, which we send a bang here. Let's make our live.gain. Easy DAC. And I'm going to bring the volume down, turn the audio on, and now, there we go.
Is that you?
So when we exceed the buffer,
Is that you? Is that you?
oops, it should go here.
Is that you?
Okay. We see that it just continues. Now, there is this way of,
So it doesn't care.
it doesn't care. It ignores it ignores it. Exactly. So there is this whole series
How
of,
unrigorous.
well, if you wish to specify otherwise, you can also give it a bound mode. And there are different bound modes here. Now, we don't need to, so it's how to handle out of range indices. So there is a default, which is ignore and return 0. Wrap will index back. Fold will go back, I think. And mirror does something else. And clip and clamp sort of like keep it at the end, basically.
Oh, so you can take care of that right in peak.
Exactly. Yeah. So bound mode is your friend there. For us, this is fine, right? Because we really just want to like, we really just want to be able to, just to play the sample back, right? And we want to be able to say, go, go, go. So right now we're fine with just this. Cool. The other thing that came up was, what's next? What else should we do? Maybe we don't want to play the whole sample, right? That might make sense. Mm-hmm. We're talking about grains of sound, so usually we're sampling something really, really, really small, like a really small amount. So how might we approach that?
You gotta set a limit on counter.
We could change, well, right now we're actually dependent on not having a limit. And in fact, the way that this is structured right now, we could use, probably what I would do is I would just use a cum, because then there's like one fewer. So it's functionally the same, right? Like how much gets added every time, how much goes into this accumulator, and because I don't. Is that me? Because I'm not wrapping, because I'm not looping. Counter is going to loop, like it's like, it goes to 100 and then it goes back, something like that. And I don't need to do that, so I can just use a cum for now. And my gen OCD is kicking in, and I'm like, cool, there's like not a inlet that's open and unaccounted for, or something like that. A little more elegant. Okay, but what about an offset? What if I want to say, I want to play 100 milliseconds of this, and then I want it to be at halfway through the sample?
You'd add SRC, you'd add the output of SRC divided by 2 in between a cum and peak for the offset, and then to limit it, and then if you want to control the length, you would do your offset plus how long you want it to be, and you'd feed that into the second input in a cum, or counter rather. Does that make sense?
I think so. Let's give it a shot. So the first part definitely makes sense. So we need to add to a cum. We need to add, and this is going to be our offset. Oops. Offset. Sample region offset, let's call it. Like so. Mm-hmm. And now what we could do, because what I just said was I want it to be halfway through. So yeah, it totally makes sense. We could actually just use the length in samples and plug this in here. And now how does this sound? Oops.
chew, 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 chew.
So now we've offset that playback. Fantastic. What if I want to be able to externally in Max control what the offset would be?
Put a param in there.
We could put a param in. And param might be
Sample offset.
yeah, we could just say offset. That's great. And this also, yeah. We can say here at min 0, at max 1, at default 0. And now we just have to change one little thing, which is instead of hard coding this divider value here, we want to multiply this value, which is going between 0 and 1, and the length of the buffer, which is going to go into here as our offset.
Oh, okay.
So now we can now get an attribute which is called offset, and we can kind of scrub this. It'll be arranged between 0 and 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now, here's a tricky part. What about duration? What if I only want to play back 100 milliseconds? Mm-hmm.
Then the second input in a queue, which is that it resets it. Wait, never mind. I realized what I was about to say. It was wrong. Never mind.
This is tricky. That was my inclination too. But we actually have to do something else. We have to. This thing is just rolling, right? And it's rolling. Like we see this value going. We actually need to stop it sooner. You need
a one-shot counter.
A one-shot counter?
Yeah.
Ah, I see what you mean. Yes, exactly what we're building.
Yeah.
That's right. Do you have an inclination?
Yeah. Could you maybe take the Could you maybe take the length variable and then after a certain number of samples has elapsed, then it changes the first input in a queue to 0? Yes, you could do that. You could totally do that. That's actually one way to do that for sure. Can you say that again? So you let's say that that the length is a param, and then when it triggers you maybe have a separate counter, and then once it gets to that duration, then you send a 0 to both the first and second input of a queue.
Yeah, totally.
To stop it.
Fantastic. So this is great. So we have now duration, and we can program this outside. This is great because it wasn't what I was thinking either, but I love it. So yeah, we're just adding to 1, and we were acting like that was fine, right? But what if we had some way of checking if we had gone past a certain threshold in the playback, and we could switch between 0 and 1? What if we wanted to switch between 0 and 1? So as a first step, before we integrate duration, let's build that switch. And so the switch is going to say, if this value here, this thing coming out of a cum, if this is greater than the size of the buffer, then send a 0. Otherwise, send 1. So, I'll make that pretty later. There is an object called switch. And switch is going to test a condition. This is a condition. If that is true, it's going to send this value. If that is false, it will send this value. So there's a number of ways to use this. I can actually just put value 1 and value 2 in here as arguments, and then those other ones are going to disappear. So if this value is true, then it's going to send a 1, and if it's false, it's going to send a 0. So I actually want to swap these. So if this is true, if accumulator is greater than the size of the buffer, then send a 0. So let's check this out. What's going on here?
You have to put in a 1 sample delay.
History.
Need that history. Need that history. Very, very well done. There we go. Now we watch, and it stops. Let's try it again.
That you? That you? That you?
Okay. We're almost there. How do we put these pieces together? We now have a duration. We have an amount of time to play back, and we have an offset. So if I had a whiteboard,
You need to know the compare to duration and or it with the other thing and to switch.
yes, we need to change these. We need to change the conditions being tested here. Basically, we need to change these conditions because we have to account for this offset, and we have to account for this duration here. So let's do this an easy way. Let's say the offset is 0, and let's ignore the offset. Okay, and so we're just going to say duration. So instead of buffer, we don't want to play back the whole buffer. We just want to play back however long the duration is, right? So I could plug this directly in here, but I'm going to say that these are probably going to be milliseconds, and we want samples here. So I am going to put in a little ms to samps, just so like I don't have to put in the parameter. I'm not putting 48,000 in there. It's like I'm putting 1,000. So milliseconds, a very typical way that we deal with this. And now I can go and change the duration. Right? So now we also need to account for this offset. Because if we change this offset, we're going to have... Oh, maybe we don't have issues. Wait, is that true? Oh, no, actually... yeah, great. It works. Of course, right. Okay, I didn't think of it. Why does that work? That's because the offset is after the accum. So this actually works out quite fine for us. So now... I have this very small 10 millisecond, this very small thing here, and I can kind of move through. Like so.
Oh, you hit the green play button that's next to the gen object that you created, and it'll be able to pull the attribute, right?
How are we doing? Do we have questions so far? We have a tiny little grain of sound.
Oh, you right click on the
This is a weird small thing, but for some reason my a truly box won't show my params.
Is there maybe an error in the params? Like maybe there's a space or there's a misspelling or something like that?
You have to lock the patcher too.
Yeah, true.
That's what I'm missing.
What's the problem?
He's having trouble with they're having trouble with the param. So one thing I'm noticing here, do y'all hear this? When I'm changing the offset, I'm getting this glitching effect.
Yeah, because you're scrubbing through the samples really quickly, but you're only scrubbing through like very specific, like thousands of samples apart things. So it's.
Well, you're not accounting for zero crossings. Anytime you start a sample above or below zero, you're gonna hit a click.
Yeah, you're both right. But basically, because I'm changing this, it's happening because I'm changing this offset, and this whole system is getting like basically kind of re-triggered. And so what I want to do is I want to wait for a trigger to come in for this new offset data to be plugged in here. And so what I need is I need that latch. So I can put this in here and then pass this over here like so. And now I shouldn't have those clicks anymore. It waits. Cool, huh? How are we doing?
Wait, can you explain the latch again?
So basically the way that the latch works is it samples an input, but it waits to send it out until it gets a 1 or some value that's not 0 in the right inlet. So basically we're like, you can change the offset. You can do whatever you want at any time.
Yeah.
It's not going to get sent through and updated until the moment at which we want to send a trigger through again and basically restart the sample. So this way we're kind of like, it's not doing these calculations here, which is kind of messing with this peak, how it's going to peak there.
Okay.
It's a little fuzzy, but hopefully that helps. Okay, cool.
Getting everything out except sound.
Huh?
Okay.
What?
Don't seem to be getting the audio out. So let's see. Numeric values out and
Is this a good? How are we feeling? I can like help people troubleshoot some stuff during the break, but maybe we want to also. We have now range actually. We don't have anything to do frequency yet because we're still sort of triggering this manually. So that's something that we could begin to experiment with, and we don't have playback speed either. So I wonder if we want to kind of keep on with some of this stuff before we take a break. Maybe do one of these, if that sounds interesting. Does that seem all right for folks? And then if people are having problems, I can definitely have a look during the break.
I think I have addition instead of multiplication.
Oh,
Explains a lot.
that'll do the trick. Sometimes that difference matters. Okay, cool. So what about speed? This is maybe the most straightforward. This is the most straightforward. What the heck? How do we change the playback speed?
Change the first value going into a cum.
Yeah, okay, great. However, we have this like switch structure here. We could change this. This is where we get into like, I don't know, programming style, I guess. You could like change 1 because what we're talking about is either a 0 goes in here or some number which is less than or greater than 1 or equal to 1. And that's going to change the speed at which we move through the buffer, right? So anyway, in any case, we do need speed. We need a speed param. And the min can be -10, and the max can be 10, and the default can be 1, I guess. And what I would do is I would then multiply either 0 and 1 coming out of here by speed. And so then whatever the speed is will get passed through here if this value is 1. And if it's 0, it's still 0 because we're multiplying by 0. So that's all good. So let's see if we can hear that. Oops, excuse me. It's actually pretty quick. We notice it's like whatever 3/4 speed or something like that. Yeah, it's lower.
Change the duration so we can hear it a little bit.
You want to change? You want to hear a little more?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting too. 10 times speed. 2 times speed.
Nice.
Yeah. There is something going on. There is something going on. Now, actually, tell me if you can hear the difference. What's the difference besides the
affecting
speed?
Duration.
It's affecting the duration. So we actually need to normalize for differences in speed. I'm thinking through this on the fly, to be perfectly honest with you. I hadn't thought of this, believe it or not. However, I believe that it would be possible. I believe it would be possible to multiply this value by speed as well. Maybe this works. I think it's going to work. We're going to talk about negative values in a second. So that sounds like approximately the same length.
Make it slower.
So now we're normalized for speed. Sweet. However, what if we want to play backwards?
No.
Oh shoot. We broke it.
Oh man.
What could we do? What could we do?
Count backwards.
Well, you need
Yes, actually. Exactly.
What you're doing is, yeah, but one way is you're not satisfying that condition.
That's right.
All right, so make sure that it's always absolute value going into that block.
That's exactly right.
And then if the sign is negative, then change what's going into history.
Yes. Now something funny is happening here, which I hope is not going to break everything. That sounds like longer than 200. And so is it possible that broke things? Okay, we have to put an absolute value somewhere else too. Because we're playing backwards. So actually maybe this is the wrong place for the absolute value. Is it possible we want this to be the absolute value? I might actually get out of my depth here. Yeah, I'm out of my depth. You know what the cure for this is? We change the minimum speed to 0.
No.
Hey, look,
No.
it's 5 after 7. We got a lot of ground to cover. That's for part 2. Yeah, that is something I have to think about a little bit more. There's something else that needs to get flipped over here, and we're on a train. So sorry we skipped that stop. You have to get off at the last stop and take the train the other way to find it, which I think is also like exactly the problem that's happening here. Okay, how do we feel? Do we want a quick break, or do we want to keep trucking? Thumbs up.
Taking a break, it would be great to find out why this isn't working.
Yeah, same.
Okay, great. Let's take a 10-minute break. Does that seem good? Is that enough? Is that enough time? Too much time? Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll do. Basically, we want to sort of automate the playback of this in some way, and then we're gonna go straight to polyphony. Okay, and then we're gonna have a polyphonic granulator by the end of the class. Fingers crossed. Okay. Yeah. Let's see.
Will you be able to save this work and send it to us later? Because I forgot my mouse. I just can't.
Yeah, totally. I'll definitely send this out.
My
And we don't want that. We want these to be sort of true control parameters.
Is that you?
So, oops, go away. So here is going to allow input in, so we can map this back to trigger. And here, and here. And so now our input is sort of controlled, like so. And boom. Dante, were you able to crack the reverse speed?
No, the thing that I was thinking didn't work.
my thought is you want to always have the speed parameter to go what's fitting down from it to be absolute value. However, when you're coming out of, scroll up a little bit. No, yeah. But then you just need to have a way to detect if it's 0 to change the sign of what's going into history.
Down here.
Yeah.
Or like here, change the sign. Is this what you mean here?
No.
Okay, I think let's keep going, because I think I have an idea for how to do this, but I also don't want to spend, our time's precious, and so let's keep rocking, and we'll come back to this if we have time. So this is kind of cool to be able to trigger these manually, but maybe we want to automate it. It would make a lot of sense to automate it. And so maybe we want there to be a rate, like a rate at which these are triggered. How would we approach that?
That you would do with the phaser something.
You certainly
Take
could.
a phaser and figure out, I don't know, beats per minute or something of that sort.
Could do beats per minute.
Well, if you're gonna do that, then you want to do it in gen?
You could do. Let's just do it in hertz for now. There is a way to convert between hertz and beats per minute, but my head's not working that way. So let's call it rate hertz, and we'll make this, we can make the minimum 0. And let's make the maximum 200. And the default, let's say 1. And we plug this in here. And then we had a structure before to detect. So we have this phaser, which is going up, and it's falling like this. We want to detect that fall.
Right.
Do we remember how to do that?
Delta?
Delta. So we're looking, so when we get the delta, we get the difference between subsequent samples. which is essentially something called the slope. And we can look for changes in delta using the change object. And we can say, gonna start zooming out here. If the change is, then we want to take the absolute value of the change actually, because change is going to give us a -1 when it drops. And we say if this is greater than 0.5, then send trigger. And now what I'm going to do, because this is looking a little messy, not super messy, a little messy, is I'm going to say send trigger. And now this is going to get broadcast to wherever I have R trigger, receive trigger. So now I'm going to instead plug this in here, plug this in here, and this I'm just going to change to R/trigger, and we're going to hear sound.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. Why the rhythm?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Does that have to do with the buffer size?
It-
Because we're putting a certain, we're starting a certain amount of time. But we have a certain amount of hertz
It-
we're inputting.
It really should be constant.
Yeah.
So we're gonna troubleshoot this. So what have I done? Okay, let me talk through this. We're gonna troubleshoot this. I don't know why this is happening. So I'm gonna look and see what's going on with my phaser. What's going on there? Something funky going on there. I'm gonna put a name here. This is my phaser, and this should be my trigger.
Right.
So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna use my friend live dot scope.
We've already got another out too.
We do. This is very unorthodox. I don't know why this is happening. Let's look at the phaser. Aha. So something is up. So the phaser is correct, but we're getting these strange triggers here. So I've probably ordered something incorrectly. So I'm gonna go and look and see. We actually maybe don't need change.
Yeah.
I think is what it is. Yeah, correct. It was one too many objects.
Right.
What does change do? It's the sign of the derivative of the input. Okay, yeah, we don't actually want that. That's right. So it was one too many.
Yep.
And now I can go and
Lovely.
right? Kind of cool. Cool. We can have a lot of fun with this. But what I'm hearing, this is interesting. But I want to maybe start to use a little bit of randomization here as well, right? Because when we start to think about these sort of clouds of sound, often we get, this sounds very mechanical, but by sort of every time we fire a grain, every time we trigger a grain, if we're subtly offsetting or changing the duration, could be changing the offset, could be changing the speed, could be changing just those three things. Those are the three parameters we have. We're gonna start to have a more kind of maybe naturalistic kind of organic kind of sound. So we're gonna head back, and we're going to subtly change some of these here. So offset I'm going to call this jitter. And this is going to be the amount of which, like a lot of jitter would be a big sort of range of randomness. So then the offset could be like between 0 and 1 or something like that. Duration, I'm going to do kind of same thing. I want this to be like, in terms of these values. Let's do this one at a time. Offset jitter, I'm going to say max is 0.5. And we're going to need to like integrate this somehow here. We're done troubleshooting. We don't need this anymore. How would we start to think about adding some randomness in? What's the operator for that?
Noise.
Noise is the operator for that. So we have noise. And noise is going to constantly give us values between 0 and 1. Negative 1 and 1, excuse me.
Yeah.
So what we could do is we could add this in here like so. And actually, let's just do this without sort of parameterizing it, and let's hear how it sounds. So we're going to open this. Oh, wait. Oh, we turn the rate back up. So let me change the speed. So now the offset is like totally randomized, right? What we might want to do is we might want to have the offset like more finely, like close around where this control parameter is. So what we want to do is actually multiply this noise by offset jitter.
What are you going to latch the noise, or am I just losing the plots?
It's a great inclination, right? We have been mostly latching noise. However, we already have a latch here.
Oh, okay.
So it's like that's sort of the gate. And so whatever's happening up here with noise, we don't need to really worry about too much.
Right.
So let me kind of finesse this a bit.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see.
So this is kind of always going, but yeah, it sort of doesn't matter because we're basically gating that information here. And so now, if I open this back up, I can say offset jitter. And I can kind of now it's sounding a little more interesting. And so then I can start to kind of scrub through the sample here too. And I can tighten it back up. Right? So now we're able to kind of make musical changes. Actually, you can imagine mapping this to a controller or some automated process. Like so. How are we doing? Doing all right? Cool. Let's do the same thing. Okay, let's do the same thing for duration. And then let's see if we do speed. I want to get to polyphony though. We have 30 minutes. So we're going to do Actually, duration's pretty straightforward. Both of these are actually straightforward. So we can probably do both. But the patch might be kind of ugly, so don't judge me. So we can plus. And this should, we might have to latch this actually. But I'm going to make something called duration jitter. Oh, and this shouldn't be, we do need to plus this. Yeah, okay, we're gonna plus this. And I'm gonna also make this, just so this is kind of streamlined, I want these both to be between 0 and 1. And the default will be 0. And we can actually change this to 1 as well. I think I misspoke about that. So we want this to be, we want to multiply this by a value that makes sense. Duration is now in terms of milliseconds. So
No, it's SAMPS right there.
it's SAMPS right here. That's correct. Thank you. So we could, I think, do something like this. And now the maximum jitter would be whatever the duration is. Let's listen. And I'm gonna turn offset jitter down to 0, just so we can kind of hear this.
How did you make offset jitter decimal?
Here.
Or I guess when I have offset jitter and I put it up and down, it just only lets me do 0 or 1.
Make sure that you have min 0, max 1, and default doesn't matter. But I wonder if you swapped like max and min.
If you need a floating point after the number.
You shouldn't need in
Should you need
gen.
that? Oh, okay.
Are you saying like when you're moving your mouse on the attribute in the regular max window?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was having that same issue unless I'm misunderstanding you. I think you just literally have to click the blank space further to the right where the
Oh.
digit would be.
Oh,
Like,
whoa.
totally wrong there.
No,
Yeah.
you're exactly right. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Good call. Thank you. That's the hidden curriculum, right? So, you know, I can change. Yeah, I can go like this if I'm farther to the left.
Okay.
That's funny. Yeah, that's something that
Well,
I forgot to teach. Thank you. Good call. So, okay, so now we have not offset jitter. We want this to be duration jitter. So, and duration jitter shouldn't be 300. It should be default 0. So I wonder, do we need to like save this or something? Why is this so high? Okay, great. Well, I change it. Okay, great. So let's listen. Okay. Wait, did I miss something? Oh, geez, I did. Oops. I missed the noise object. So we do need some we need the noise object for some randomness here. So, yeah, we should then multiply this by duration jitter. So this is getting kind of big and it's hard to kind of make it look pretty on the fly. I know I keep apologizing for that, but it also means it's sort of harder to track what's going on. I realize that.
See, if this was all in a code box, it'd be very compact.
It's very true.
which what is duration jitter?
Whoa.
That's changing the speed.
Yeah, that's not something I anticipated. This has maybe broken our the way that we are keeping track of normalizing for duration.
Well, I don't understand why you don't take, if you've got a duration parameter before you do MS to SAMPS,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that might make sense, actually.
Apply the jitter before you do MS to SAMPS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
you are ultimately. I think that maybe the second times after duration should be a plus instead, because the reason why it's doing the
Oh,
time
that might
distortion.
be.
Yeah, the reason why it's doing the time distortion is you at one point you used to have MS to SAMPS going into a multiplier, and when you multiply the duration by another product, that affects the time that it's all. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
So-
I think that should be plus instead of a times. Is I think what the issue is.
I think you're
So
right.
the duration jitter should go directly into a plus.
I think that may be. Let's try it. I that actually sounds right. I think I follow. We should latch this again. But we're not getting any difference in. Maybe it's just hard to hear.
Yeah, it's also because it's one. That means the range of the duration is one. The range of the duration is 1 millisecond. So you should so I think that maybe just like turn up the max to like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
300,
Yeah.
and then you start to hear a variance.
Okay, this is helpful. Thank you for helping me think through this. So, yeah, we could make it. Yeah, I guess whatever. Let's make it just write this in terms of milliseconds. That makes a lot of sense. Or this is now samples. So,
No, because it's upstream of the larger MS to SAMPS.
but this then needs to be in terms of samples. So it's actually just changing the duration by.
But you're summing it up all into a millisecond quantity that you're then converting to samples, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, good call. Thanks. Team coding.
Woohoo!
So now, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you get like these moments where you're like, no, it has to be in terms of 1 or 0, but that doesn't make sense at all.
That should be the. Let's go to samples.
Also the duration is now the maximum possible duration is now still larger than the period of the LFO. So you're also going to want to turn down
The rate.
you're either going to want to turn down the rate or turn down the duration.
Now we're affecting the speed again. Okay, look. We're not randomizing the duration. How about that?
We tried our best.
We'll come back to it. We have more ground to cover. Actually, okay.
Yeah, let's get to the meat.
Let's get to polyphony. So, we have a little bit of information about whether this grain is playing a sound or not. And that comes from what is coming out of this this thing here, basically. Yeah. Yes, we could do that. So let's make out 2.
Oh, you have capital T.
Doesn't seem to care.
I think it should be okay.
Oh, nice. Stylized.
Forgiving, yeah. So there's going to be some 0 crossings in here. So what we could do, just to make this clean, is we just slide. And we'll see why in a second. Maybe not so much. It's great that it does that. Great that it does this over here too. Yeah, okay. I don't totally love this. I mean, really what we should be doing is probably enveloping this. And then using the envelope in order to do this. So let's do that. I think that's the right way.
Also, don't eat literally what's going into a cube. Literally, what's going into a cube. Like when it's 0, there's just not a sample plane. So you have like that very direct. Like you have this very direct. Like see this line?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
true. Good call.
That tells us when it's just not playing, right?
That's absolutely right. So we've already solved this problem. Thank you. This is great. See, I can live code in Gen. I just need all of you in the room. So now we should have 1 when it's playing and 0 when it's not. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take this patch here and we're going to save it as something called grain. And grain is going to be a gen DSP. Save. We're going to exit out. We're going to open this up. We're going to delete it. We're going to make a new operator called grain. And there it is. So we need to test some things. We need to test and make sure that these parameters still work. I believe that they may not. But let's do our thing here. Out 1. Out 2. We're not hearing anything, so that's kind of a sign that we have to kind of reprogram these parameters. Which is to say, we probably want to pass them in Gen in some way. I'm actually gonna pull up this example just so I don't get this wrong and save time. But here's an example. It's from this book, and we see that they have here clearly they have these parameters. And it seems like those are being passed in here. But they're storing these as histories. So you have param duration, it does all this work. Forget about what's going on here. But they load it into this thing called history. And then inside of this gen DSP, we can access offset, we can access slope as basically parameters or as basically variables. So here's what we're going to do.
Well, what's the idea behind the history?
The history then makes that term into a variable that stores whatever goes in here. So this means that these params can be accessed from the outside. But these slopes, these like history, the data coming in here is accessible inside of these subgen operators.
Okay, so each history is kind of like a variable.
Exactly. So let's make that work for us. First thing we need to do is we need to take all the params that we have here, which are global. We want these to affect all the grains that we have ultimately. And we're going to put them in this main sort of mother patch here, mother gen. And now what we can do, did I copy those? Yeah, good. Is kind of the cheap thing to do. Actually, it's not cheap, it's fine. We're going to call this G speed for grain speed. We're just going to hook these up like this. G duration. This will be G actually we're gonna see that we're gonna want a phaser in this. Basically, we're gonna want our phaser in this mother patch here as well, because we're gonna actually want to send these impulses through. So I'm actually gonna take this whole structure here and drop it in here, and we're gonna see that these actually get passed through. We're gonna have to rewire something inside of grain. Basically, we need actually an input now, and this will be like a trigger in. And for now, we can just say send trigger and hook it up like this. But I'm going to delete this from here. And let me go back to wherever I was. Yeah. And I'm just going to pass this in here. We basically just want to get this thing working, and then we're going to engineer the polyphony part in 10 minutes. Which may require me just going and grabbing the way that it works from this other patch, which would be fine. So here we have G offset, and then this is going to be G offset jitter. Okay. So now I go back in here, and these params, I can, I believe, just call this G offset. And I think I can just use this as an operator, and if not, no, we
I have
can't.
problems with that. I tried that.
So what we can do is this, G offset. And now what gets added is the contents of that variable. And same thing here. This is now, we can put in G offset jitter, like so. And we can get rid of this. This we can say, I think just plus duration. And this we can also say, we could just say plus speed. And that will work too. Wow, I'm actually a little impressed.
Very some parameters this year.
Yeah, okay, let's put it to the test. Let's see what breaks. Okay. Yeah, it's going. Cool. So here's what we want to do.
So your parent gen patch used history, and now you've got global variables.
That's it. They're global variables. Exactly. So within the scope of this grain, we can kind of do whatever we want. Da 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 da. That's fine. But really, what we want to do now is this. And we want to actually hold on a second. I should have done this. We want to be able to whoa, wait, why is that happening? Ah, okay, here's another thing. I think trigger is acting globally. R trigger. So I think what we can do, this is another little trick. If you want like a unique number, you can use #0_. This is like, oh wait, oh, it doesn't work in here? Dang, okay. Maybe we just can't use trigger, or maybe we could use history trigger.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but in the one grain, the first one that you had to reconfigure some stuff inside, didn't you connect something else to the trigger before it went into a queue? It's the first global grain you dropped. Does that have nothing to do with this?
I think that might yeah, I think that doesn't have anything.
Okay, totally my bad.
Thing. I'm just going to change, but thank you for saying. I'm going to go and change this. I think this will work. I'm going to change all these to like this history here. I might be wrong. But what I should see, hopefully, is in the main patch. No, actually, this is not working either. This is strange.
Maybe turn all the triggers. So I mean, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing successive out twos you're going to be trying to do successive out twos into the inputs, right? So that it could so that like whenever the first thing stops playing, whenever the first gen stops playing, then the next thing plays. So what you could do is everywhere where you used to have a trigger, you could have that be input 1, and then the larger rate hertz architecture that you have in the mother patch, you just plug that into the first one, right?
This is what we hope to do. Basically, what we want to be able to do is we want to see if a voice is busy, and if it's like playing something, and then we want to pass it to the next, like that.
Oh, okay.
And
we
so
already had that flag from before. What happened to it?
Well, yeah, we have this flag, but for some reason, right now I'm only sending a trigger in here, and so I expect that this is only the only voice that should be busy, because these have nothing going into it. This is the issue, and so I'm kind of wondering why these are getting triggered. These over here are getting triggered.
One says that it's I think that maybe a 1 it says it's open, and a 0 says that it's busy, based on the way that we have it set up.
That's right. But we're still getting these, like why are 4 and 5 voices busy? These aren't getting any triggers at all.
No, as in like out 2 is outputting a 1 when it isn't busy, and a 0 when it is busy. I think that you have it past the switch 0-1, so I think that it is working correctly, but I just think that the polarity is reversed. That it's saying, so if it's outputting 1, that means that it's free. Yeah. If it's outputting 1, then it's not playing.
Right.
If it's outputting 1, then it's not playing anything. And if you just take the out 2 and you put it up 1, then it's fine.
Good catch. Wow. Yeah, that's exactly right. Holy cow. So now. So actually, maybe all this worked before with the send. Can we go back to send? Show me send. Show me send. Okay, great. So hopefully I didn't go one too far here. Oh yeah, I did, because these should be history, right? Okay, I need to redo this. Hold on. Da, 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 da. This will be plus G speed, right? Plus G duration, plus G offset jitter, plus G offset, and then this should be in 1. And then this, if it is not still, save. Let me go and redo exactly what you just said, which is we're just going to reverse the polarity, right? Exactly what you said. When it's 0, it's 1. When it's 1, it's 0. And great. So this is actually now acting as we would expect. Save. Now, let's go back to this mother gen. And we're going to connect this to all these other output 2s. And, okay, something is happening here. What would the issue be?
Did they update?
They might not have updated. They did. Maybe it is the trigger. Oh, I see. Actually, it is. I did kind of mess this up. Yeah, okay, hold on. So we'll edit again.
You got this.
We'll do history trigger. I feel like I'm competing for a job here. This is really plus triggers.
Recycling 74 interview.
Geez, yeah, maybe I'll send this to them. Plus trigger. So now let's make sure they update. That's a good call. We'll just kind of delete and redo. Okay. Locked in. Now. we need some way of looking at this number. If it is 1, we need to pass out 3. Basically, this is like next. Relay the trigger to the next grain. So what we can do is we can look at switch. And we can say the condition to test, if it's true, send 1. If it's false, send 2. We might have to flip that. Remember that when this doesn't work. And then we can use a gate. And we want 2 outputs. So we're going to say if this is true, choose which output to forward to. Okay, so this is going to send out either a 1 or a 2. This is going to take an input in. So now this is going to move up here. This is ugly. Here's our input. Let's see. If input 2 into if input 1 equals 0, or is that what it says? If input 1 equals 1, otherwise send a 0. Yeah, so then that's going to be this. So I think these need to be swapped. Yes. Whoa, then it stopped.
I'm losing what you're trying to do here, right?
So we need to basically keep track of, so you know we had this number coming out here, which was either 0 or 1.
Right.
If it's 0, I want it to pass through the gate, the trigger, into this whole circuit here, and it plays it. But if it is 1, if it is busy, I want to pass this onto the next grain, basically. The next grain thing here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm actually just going to, because we have time left, no time left, I'm going to cheat. Sorry.
I'm gonna give you an F because of this.
Oh, I think we need a history object. I think that's it. If this works, then I'm going to be amazed. And if not, then we're going to see what's up. But I think actually this might work. Ah, too bad. And then I switch this back to 1 and 2. Ah, bummer. Save. No luck. Oh, we're so close. So this is basically... Oh, I see. They have these swapped then. Now I'm really cheating. Something funny is happening.
I'm not laughing.
So then this would send this out to next, and then this would send this in here. Oh, I wonder if this is... It might be because we're using this history here. I might have gotten myself into a bind.
this is where you need to start doing debugging and taking your time.
Yeah, I think I just hit a wall. I confess, I hit a wall. Okay, so here's what I can do is I'll be happy to debug this and then send this out. Ultimately, what would happen here at this point is we have this out 3, and we would. Oh, actually, maybe this is working. Is that possible?
The wall's been breached.
No, something's happening where it's starting
Yeah.
and then it's flagging as being busy and it's staying flagged or something like that. I don't know why. I think it has to do with like the combination of histories there. But it would look something like this, and then each one of these would be going to the output, and we would have then up to 5 different voices, different grains going at once, which would give kind of a more clouded texture. Bummer that it didn't work, but yeah, I can definitely crack that when maybe I'm a little more fresh. But yeah, we're a little bit over, but I do want to just take a little time to, hey, thank you all. This was really fun. I hope that you enjoyed this. Hanging out, like going hard on some gen. Yeah, I would love to stay connected with people. You know, if you have questions, would love to hear them in the Discord. You're free to email me whenever as well. I'm very accessible on email. Follow CCAM on Instagram. Follow ESS on Instagram. I assume that you have. I want to give a big shout out to Kate, to Alex, to Troy and Olivia, ESS engineers, like holding it down big time. Yeah, stay tuned to the ESS calendar. Stay tuned to the CCAM calendar. Stay in touch. It was really great to meet all of you and share some space. This was a really cool classroom environment, I felt like. I hope you did too. It felt very generous and open and fun. And that's thanks to y'all. So yeah, feel free if you want to stay around and chat and catch up a little bit. Maybe we can also help Kate start to tear down to make things easy if we are lingering. I don't want to linger too long either, just out of respect for Kate's time. But hey, thank you all so much. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you.